Declaration of Independence explained. The citizenship test question everyone must know.
Welcome to Pathway to Citizenship, where we explore the stories behind the questions on the U.S. Citizenship Test. I'm Andrea, your host, and today we're diving into one of the most powerful documents in American history, the Declaration of Independence. And here to question, laugh, and learn with me is David, one of my favorite guests and future citizens.
Thanks, Andrea. You always make these topics sound less intimidating. But I have to admit, when I see Declaration of Independence on the civics list, I freeze a little. It sounds like something only historians understand.
Oh, you're not alone. A lot of students think that, but the truth is, this document isn't just history. It's philosophy in action. It's the foundation for many of the questions on the citizenship test.
So, when the test asks, what did the Declaration of Independence do? The answer is, it announced our independence from Great Britain, right?
Exactly, but that's just the short answer. The deeper meaning is what gives that answer life. Imagine the 13 colonies as frustrated teenagers who've been grounded for too long.
So King George was the strict parent?
Precisely, the colonies had chores, taxes, but no voice in the house rules. So they finally said, enough, we're moving out. And that's the Declaration, America's breakup letter to Britain.
I love that analogy. So Thomas Jefferson basically wrote, it's not you, it's your monarchy.
Exactly, but instead of a short text message, he wrote one of the most eloquent arguments for human freedom ever created. He started with ideas that weren't just about America, they were universal. All men are created equal.
That part always gets me. But when they say, all men, did they really mean everyone?
Great question, and that's one of the biggest discussions in American history. At that time, they meant white men with property. But those words planted seeds. They created a principle that later movements like abolition, civil rights, and women's rights used to demand true equality.
So when I study for the test, I shouldn't just memorize life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I should feel what those words mean?
Exactly. Those words are the emotional DNA of America. They're why new citizens like you take the oath of allegiance. You're joining a promise that began in 1776 to keep striving toward those ideals.
That makes me think, when I become a citizen, I'll be part of that same story, not just someone learning about it from the outside.
That's the spirit. The Declaration isn't frozen in 1776. It's a living statement that continues every time someone chooses to become an American.
Wow, that makes the test feel bigger. Like, it's not just questions, it's joining a 250-year conversation about freedom.
Exactly, David. Every answer you give, especially on questions like what did the Declaration of Independence do, isn't just memorized words. It's your voice joining that same chorus of liberty.
So I guess the real test is understanding why independence matters, not just when it happened.
Beautifully said. July 4th, 1776 isn't just a date, it's a declaration that freedom is a human right, not a privilege. and that's why every citizen should know it by heart. All right, David, let's dig into the Declaration itself. We've talked about what it did. Now let's explore how it did it. The way Jefferson wrote it is just as important as the message.
I remember from the study guide. Who wrote the Declaration of Independence? Thomas Jefferson. But I didn't realize he was such a poet.
Oh, absolutely, he wrote with the rhythm of conviction. Think about the line, "We hold these truths to be self-evident." It's like a drumbeat of certainty.
Yeah, that line feels powerful, even if you don't understand every word. It sounds absolute.
That's the genius of it. Jefferson used words that carried moral weight, not just political anger. He wasn't just saying, "We're mad at the king." He was saying, "Here's the philosophy of human rights."
So it's kind of like the world's first viral post about equality.
That's one way to see it, except instead of social media, they had quill pens and parchment. But yes, it spread everywhere. Those words inspired revolutions in France, Latin America, and even modern democracy movements today.
It's amazing to think that something written almost 250 years ago still shapes how we think about freedom.
That's why it's on the citizenship test. It's not just history, it's a value check. When the test asks, what are two rights in the Declaration of Independence? The answers, life and liberty, aren't random vocabulary. They're principles every American should live by.
You know, I always thought of those as American gifts, but now I see they're more like responsibilities.
Exactly, their promises. Think of the Declaration as the country's mission statement. It says what America wants to be, even if it's not perfect yet.
That makes sense. So when immigrants like me become citizens, we're saying, I believe in that mission too.
Yes. That's what makes citizenship so powerful. You're not just joining a country, you're joining an idea.
You're making me emotional, Andrea.
Good. You should feel it. Because the Declaration wasn't written by people who were comfortable. It was written by people who were risking everything. Signing that document was basically signing their own death warrant if they failed.
Wow. So those signatures weren't just ink, they were courage.
Exactly. Imagine being in that room in Philadelphia, July 1776, the air thick with fear and hope. Some men trembling, some shouting, but all agreeing that freedom was worth everything.
It gives me chills. It's like the first group project where everyone knew the stakes were life or death.
That's right, and their bravery paved the way for you, for me, for everyone who believes in self-government.
You know, when I think about that, it makes the test questions feel sacred. Like, when I answer, when was the Declaration adopted? July 4th, 1776, I'm saying more than a date. I'm saying, that's the day freedom became official.
That's exactly the heart of it. You're not just memorizing facts. You're connecting with the people and the principles that made those facts matter.
So, next time someone asks me what the Declaration of Independence did, I'll say, it announced freedom and reminded the world that people can choose their destiny.
Perfect answer, David. And that's the kind of understanding that makes a great citizen, someone who knows not just the answers, but the meaning behind them.
You're making me proud to study this. Honestly, I can't wait for part 2.
Then we'll make sure it's worth the wait. Next time, we'll explore how the Declaration connects to your rights today, the freedoms you'll promise to uphold as a new citizen.
I'll bring the fireworks.
Just make sure that they're metaphorical ones.
From Declaration to Constitution. How America Turned Ideals into a Nation. Civics Explained.
Welcome back to Pathway to Citizenship. In Part 1, David and I explored how the Declaration of Independence wasn't just a breakup letter to Great Britain, but a statement of values that still guide us today. Now we'll look at what happened next, how those fiery words turned into the framework for a nation.
Right, because it's one thing to declare independence, it's another to figure out what comes after the fireworks.
Exactly. The Declaration was the what: freedom, equality, and the pursuit of happiness. The Constitution was the how. It's like the Declaration says, we want to live free, and the Constitution answers, okay, here's the plan.
So they go together. One's the dream, one's the blueprint.
Perfect way to put it. The citizenship test actually connects them. It asks, what did the Declaration of Independence do? And later, what does the Constitution do? The answers build on each other. The Declaration announced independence. The Constitution set up the government to protect it.
That's kind of poetic, but between 1776 and 1787, what were they doing? Just celebrating?
Oh no, far from it. They were struggling. After independence, the states had more power than the national government under something called the Articles of Confederation. Imagine 13 roommates sharing an apartment, and each one insists on setting their own rules.
That sounds like chaos. Who takes out the trash?
Exactly, nobody did. Literally and politically. They couldn't collect taxes or pay soldiers. The country was falling apart. That's why, in 1787, they held the Constitutional Convention in Philadelphia to create a stronger system.
So, they basically said, we need rules to protect our freedom.
Yes, because without structure, freedom turns into confusion. Think of it like a soccer game. The Declaration says, let's play, but the Constitution sets the boundaries and referees so everyone knows how.
I like that analogy. Without rules, it's not freedom, it's chaos.
Exactly. The founders understood that. That's why the Constitution starts with, we the people. It echoes the Declaration's idea of self-government, power from the people, not from a king.
So, when the citizenship test asks, the idea of self-government is in the first 3 words of the Constitution. What are these words? The answer, we the people, is really a continuation of the Declaration's message.
Beautiful connection, David. The test isn't just checking memory, it's checking your understanding of how America's ideals evolved. The Declaration declared freedom. The Constitution preserved it.
You make it sound like the Declaration was the heartbeat, and the Constitution became the body that carried it.
Exactly. The heart gave the pulse, the belief in liberty, and the Constitution gave it form, strength, and rhythm. That's why every citizen should know both. When you become a citizen, you're not just joining a country, you're joining both a vision and a system that keeps that vision alive.
I like that. The Declaration gave us the reason, and the Constitution gave us the recipe.
Yes, and that's what the test reflects. Each question isn't random. It's part of a story. Understanding that story helps you see why America works the way it does today.
Andrea, I keep thinking about those famous words, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. They're so simple, but they sound like a whole philosophy.
They are. Jefferson didn't just write words. He captured a belief that every human being has certain natural rights that can't be taken away. And that belief became the foundation of American citizenship.
So when the test asks, what are two rights in the Declaration of Independence? The answers, life and liberty, aren't just facts. They're promises.
Exactly. And the pursuit of happiness completes that promise. It means you can follow your dreams as long as you don't take away someone else's rights. It's a balance between freedom and responsibility.
That's interesting. Happiness doesn't mean the government has to make you happy. It means you have the freedom to try.
Exactly. America can't hand you happiness. It can only protect your right to chase it. That's the spirit of the Declaration. And it shows up in the citizenship oath, too. When you promised to support and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States, you're promising to protect that freedom for everyone.
I never thought of it that way. It's like each citizen becomes a guardian of those rights.
Beautifully said. Think of the Declaration as planting the tree of liberty. Each generation waters it. Every new citizen adds another root. That's how freedom grows.
So when I take the test, I'm not just answering, what are two rights? I'm recognizing that those rights now belong to me, and it's my duty to protect them.
Exactly, David. And that's why the test includes questions about rights and responsibilities. For example, what is one promise you make when you become a United States citizen?
To be loyal to the United States.
Right, and that loyalty isn't blind. It means standing up for those principles, life, liberty, equality, even when it's hard. That's what makes the Declaration timeless.
It's amazing that something written almost 250 years ago can still define who we are.
That's the magic of those words. They've inspired abolitionists, suffragists, civil rights leaders, everyone who ever said, America can do better. The Declaration didn't end the story, it began it.
You're right. It's not a finished promise, it's an ongoing one.
Exactly. And that's why citizenship is so powerful. Every time someone new takes the oath, they help America keep its word.
You know, Andrea, when I first studied the test, I thought it was all about dates and names. Now I see it's really about values, about joining a bigger mission.
And that's what makes the citizenship journey so meaningful. It's not just learning history, it's stepping into it. When you answer those questions, you're not repeating facts. You're echoing the voices of people who fought for those ideals.
It's funny, before, July 4th, 1776, was just a date. Now it feels like a heartbeat.
That's the best description I've ever heard. July 4th is the heartbeat of freedom, and every citizen adds to its rhythm.
So, the more people understand the Declaration, the stronger that heartbeat becomes.
Exactly. And that's why we study, discuss, and celebrate it. Because the Declaration isn't just a document, it's a living invitation. It says, join us, believe in liberty, help keep it alive.
I think I'm starting to understand why you love teaching this so much.
Because every conversation like this reminds me of why America began and why it continues. And next time, we'll connect these ideas to the Constitution itself to see how those words of independence became the laws that still protect our freedom today.
I'll be ready. The pursuit of happiness continues.
It always does, David. It always does.
United States Pathway to Citizenship, Part 3. The Living Promise. What the Declaration Means for New Citizens.
Welcome back, everyone. David and I have traveled from the words of the Declaration to the framework of the Constitution. Now let's talk about how those ideas live inside the citizenship process itself. Because really, every person taking the test is continuing the Declaration's mission.
That's wild to think about. I mean, I'm just trying to remember who wrote what and which year something happened, but you make it sound like I'm part of history.
That's because you are. Remember the question on the test. What did the Declaration of Independence do? The simple answer is, it announced our independence from Great Britain. But the deeper meaning is that it announced an idea that people can choose their own leaders. When you apply for citizenship, you're doing the same thing. You're choosing to be part of a nation built on self-government.
So the citizenship interview is like my personal declaration?
Exactly. It's your moment to say, I choose freedom, equality, and opportunity. You're joining millions who made that same choice before you. It's not just paperwork. It's a pledge to keep those ideals alive.
That's a cool way to see it. So when I raise my hand and take the oath of allegiance, I'm echoing 1776.
Absolutely. It's the same spirit. Remember how Jefferson wrote that governments get their power from the consent of the governed? By becoming a citizen, you're giving your consent. You're saying, count me in.
So when I vote for the first time, it's like signing my own version of the Declaration.
I love that image. Every vote is like adding your name to the list of people who still believe in those truths. It's a continuation of the promise.
You know, I used to think the test was just a bunch of trivia, but now it feels like a map of what makes America tick.
Exactly. Every question is a thread in the fabric of freedom. When you learn them, you're not just studying facts. You're learning how the idea of liberty became a way of life.
Andrea, I've been thinking. Those words, all men are created equal, sound so noble, but America hasn't always lived up to them. How does that fit with the citizenship test?
That's such an important question, David. The Declaration wasn't perfect. It was the beginning of a conversation, not the end. When you study U.S. history for the test, you'll see that every generation has had to fight to make those words true for more people.
Like the Civil War and the Civil Rights Movement?
Exactly. When you answer questions like, what did Abraham Lincoln do? And say, he freed the slaves, or what movement tried to end racial discrimination? And answer, the Civil Rights Movement, you're seeing how Americans have worked to close the gap between ideals and reality.
So, it's like the Declaration planted the seed, and every generation keeps watering it.
Perfect metaphor. The founders wrote about equality, but later leaders and citizens, people like Lincoln, Susan B. Anthony, and Martin Luther King Jr., helped that idea grow. They made freedom more complete.
And now, as someone becoming a citizen, I get to help keep it alive too.
Yes, citizenship isn't about agreeing that the country's perfect. It's about believing it can always improve. That's what makes we the people so powerful. It includes everyone willing to work for a better nation.
So when I study these questions, I'm not just memorizing heroes. I'm learning what kind of citizen I should be.
That's exactly the goal. The test isn't just about knowledge. It's about understanding the spirit behind the answers. When you know that life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness wasn't fully real for everyone at first, it gives you the motivation to help make it real now.
That makes me proud, and maybe a little nervous. I feel like I'm joining something bigger than I realized.
You are. Every new citizen adds their own voice to that bigger story, and that's why the Declaration still matters. It's not a relic. It's a reminder that freedom must be renewed every time someone says, I believe in this.
You make it sound like citizenship is a relay race. We each carry the torch a little farther.
Exactly, David. And guess what? You're next in line. So, David, as we wrap up our conversation, tell me, what's changed for you since we started this journey through the Declaration?
Honestly, everything. Before, it was just a test to pass. Now, it feels like a story I'm stepping into. When I read, all men are created equal, I don't just think about old parchment and quill pens. I think about people from everywhere, like me, who came here for a chance to live those words.
That's exactly what I hope every future citizen feels. The Declaration isn't just America's beginning, it's an invitation, and you've accepted it.
I guess I never saw myself as part of that story before. I used to think history was something that happened to people, not something you could join.
But citizenship is your way in. You become part of the ongoing chapter. Every oath, every vote, every small act of civic duty, it all keeps the story alive.
It's funny, I used to worry about my accent during the interview. Now I think, maybe that accent is just a new way of saying the same old American words.
That's beautiful. America's voice is full of accents. That's what makes it strong. Each one adds color and depth to the idea of we the people.
You know, when you put it like that, I think of the Declaration like a song that never ends. Every generation sings a verse.
I love that. And you're about to sing yours. Think about your interview day as a conversation with history. When they ask, what did the Declaration of Independence do? You'll say, it announced our independence, but in your heart, you'll know it also announced your future.
That gives me chills. I used to be scared of the test, but now I'm excited for it.
Good. That's the transformation. Fear turning into purpose. Because this journey isn't about passing a test. It's about discovering your voice in America's story.
And maybe that's why people still read those words every 4th of July. They remind us that freedom isn't a gift, it's a choice.
Exactly. Every citizen, new or old, has to choose it again and again. That's the real pursuit of happiness, to keep striving toward the promise those founders dared to write.
Andrea, I have to say, you've turned what I thought was a boring study topic into something alive.
And you've reminded me why I teach this. Every time someone like you connects with those words, the Declaration gets a new heartbeat.
Then here's my declaration. I'm ready. I'm ready to raise my hand, take the oath, and do my part.
And that's the spirit of independence, alive and well. When you walk out of that ceremony, remember, you're not just a citizen by law, you're a citizen by choice.
I'll remember that, and I'll keep learning, keep voting, keep believing.
That's all any of us can do. And that's what keeps America growing. Each person carrying a piece of that 1776 dream forward.
Then here's to the Declaration, the Constitution, and the test that brings them both to life.
And here's to you, David, the newest guardian of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Thank you, Andrea, for the lessons, the stories, and for reminding me that history isn't behind us, it's under our feet.
Beautifully said. And to everyone listening, remember, the U.S. Citizenship Test isn't just about answers. It's about understanding who we are and who we can become. The Declaration of Independence started the conversation. You, the future citizens, keep it going.
I think that's the best homework ever.
Then class dismissed with flying colors.
And fireworks.
Always fireworks. Freedom deserves a celebration.